On a bitter February morning in 1944, a train carrying 183 Japanese prisoners of war rolled into Camp McCoy, Wisconsin. The temperature had plunged to 14 degrees below zero. Frost sealed every window, and snow stretched endlessly in every direction. Inside one of the rail cars, Lieutenant Commander Tishi Yamamoto pressed his face against the frozen glass, staring at a world he had never imagined. 6 months earlier, he had surrendered in the Aleutian Islands. He expected interrogation, forced labor, perhaps execution, but not this silence, not this cold dot, not this endless white dot. As the train came to a halt, Yamamoto turned to the officers beside him and whispered words shaped by years of military indoctrination. Whatever happens here, we must die with honor. What none of them could know was that everything they believed about their enemy was about to be shattered by something as simple as a meal. The prisoners stepped off the train in formation, their breath forming thick clouds in the frozen air. Most still wore tropical uniforms, barely protected by thin blankets issued during transport. Yamamoto immediately noticed something strange. The American guards carried weapons, but their faces showed no hatred, only concern. "This way, gentlemen," called Captain Robert Henderson, the camp's liaison officer, speaking through a Japanese-American interpreter, Sergeant Henry Tanaka. "We have warm buildings waiting." Inside the barracks, coal-burning stoves radiated life-saving heat. American soldiers distributed heavy wool coats, thick socks, and insulated boots. The prisoners stared in disbelief. In their training, they had been taught that prisoners were treated as less than human. "Why are they giving us this?" whispered a young pilot, Nakamura, shot down months earlier. Yamamoto replied quietly, "Accept nothing as kindness. This may be a trick." That evening, the prisoners were marched to the mess hall. The smell stopped them. Cold, rice, perfectly white rice, each grain, clean, polished, and gleaming. For Japanese soldiers, this kind of rice was a luxury reserved for officers and the wealthy. Yamamoto felt the blood drain from his face. In Japan, white rice was traditionally served to condemned prisoners before execution. "This is our last meal," Nakamura whispered. The fear spread instantly. Some men wept. Others sat rigid, determined to face death with dignity. Yamamoto stood and addressed his men. "We will eat. We will not break." The Americans watched in confusion as the prisoners ate in silence, many with tears streaming down their faces. Captain Henderson turned to Sergeant Tanaka. "What's wrong with them?" Tanaka returned moments later, pale. "Sir, they think you're going to execute them." Henderson was stunned. Within the hour, interpreters gathered the prisoners. Henderson stood before them. "There has been a terrible misunderstanding," he said. "You are not going to be executed. This is not a final meal. You will eat white rice every day." Every day. The mess hall went silent. "The Geneva Convention requires that prisoners receive the same rations as our own soldiers," Henderson continued. "Our soldiers eat white rice. So do you." Then something remarkable happened. Nakamura laughed, not joyfully, desperately, the laughter of a man who had just learned he would live. Over the following months, Camp McCoy continued to overturn everything the prisoners had been taught. They worked 8-hour days, were paid wages, received medical care, played baseball with guards, studied English, painted art, and practiced their religion freely. When one prisoner developed appendicitis, American surgeons saved his life. "They treated me as one of their own," he said in disbelief. Yamamoto kept a diary. "We eat better here than we did while serving our emperor," he wrote. "This troubles me deeply." Letters home were allowed. A Shinto shrine was built. Friendships formed. When news of Hiroshima and Nagasaki arrived, grief swept the camp. American officers shared the prisoners' horror. On August 15, 1945, Japan surrendered. Yamamoto stood before his men. "Our nation has fallen," he said, "but we have learned something here, that enemies can be humane, and honor can include mercy." When Yamamoto finally returned to Japan, his city lay in ruins. His family survived. His single letter from Camp McCoy had kept hope alive. Years later, he would say, "I was taught that surrender was worse than death, but life gave me time to learn, to change, and to understand. All because of a bowl of white rice."